Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we are seeing the second part of chapter 2 of this book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. And as we discussed in the first part, the second part is a compilation of lectures spoken by Srila Prabhupada, which the publishers, the editors at BBT converted into an article form. And as we read, we saw some places, it must come from various sources, which they put as a continuum to the first chapter, which was the actual book written by Prabhupada in India. However, it is still Prabhupada's words. It's so amazing to see that 10 years down the line, right, 10 years from the time he wrote in India, the consistency, the elaboration, the conviction is so brilliant. Right? So we read half of the chapter, and today we're going to complete this chapter by continuing where we left off. So let us start. The Srila Prabhupada says, everyone should attempt to go to Kṛṣṇa. We have published an article in our Back to Godhead magazine entitled Beyond the Universe. So this is where we left off actually last time from this paragraph. And from that, we knew it was 1969, Beyond the Universe in BBT. So next paragraph. The cosmic manifestation is called nature, but there is another nature which is superior. So from our first reading of the first chapter, we saw the shlokas in Bhagavad Gita where para and apara shaktis or energies were discussed. The cosmic manifestation is inferior, but beyond this nature, which is manifested and unmanifested, there is another nature which is called sanātana, eternal. It is easy to understand that everything manifested here is temporary. Everything existing in this material world is temporary. The obvious example is our body. If one is 30 years old, 30 years ago, his body was not manifested, and another 50 years, considering he lives for 80 years, right, again, it will be unmanifested. That is a factual law of nature. It is manifested and annihilated again. Just as waves in the seas rise and then frequently and then recede. So life is nothing but a wave. It just goes up. We have high moments, come down, and then it's gone. Right? But we take this coming and going and all these things very seriously. The materialist, however, is simply concerned with this mortal life, which can be finished at any moment. Furthermore, as this body will die, so the entire universe, this gigantic material body, will be annihilated. Just as this body dies, the universe is a large body. And whether we are fortunate or unfortunate on this planet or any other planet, everything will be finished. Why then are we wasting our time trying to go to a planet where everything will be finished? Space travel, easy journey to other planets. Right? We are desiring to go here, go there, this country, this planet, that planet, but everywhere is perishable. We should try to go to Kṛṣṇaloka. This is the spiritual science. We must try to understand it, and after understanding it ourselves, we should preach this message to the whole world. Everyone is in darkness. Although people have no knowledge, they are very proud. But it is not advancement of knowledge to go to the moon after 10 years of effort and then take a rock and come back. Prabhupada saying, space travelers are very proud. Oh, I have touched it. But what have they gained by touching the moon? Even if we're able to live there, it will not be for long. Even if you make a house, there was sometimes that people who were selling land on the moon, please buy an apartment on the moon. Some people actually bought it. It will all be destroyed in the end. Try to find that planet from which one will never return, where there is eternal life and where one can dance with Kṛṣṇa. This is the meaning of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Take this movement seriously, for Kṛṣṇa consciousness gives one a chance to reach Kṛṣṇa and to dance with him eternally. So from the outside view, people will say that these people are crazy, taking up to Kṛṣṇa Bhakti, desiring to go to some planet, desiring to dance with Kṛṣṇa. But in reality, other people in this world are crazy to want to invest time and energy and life in something so perishable. How much do what one may, this world is going to be lost. How much energy we put in, how much time we put in, how much, whatever we do, the entire existence of our material lives are going to be destroyed. How much money you collect is going to be gone. How much family, how much loved ones you have, everything is going to be wiped out. So why invest in the temporary? From Vedic literature, we understand that this material world is a manifestation of only 1/4 of the complete creation of the Lord. Right? The 3/4 portions of God's creation is the spiritual world that we find in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, this material world is but a fractional part of the whole. If we look as far as we can see up to the sky, our vision will still be confined within only one universe. There are unlimited universes clustered together within what is called the material world. So the material world is a huge area with so many material planets and universes. Everyone is just struggling, trying to be the master, trying to be the enjoyer, stuck within the cycle of birth and death. But beyond those clusters of unlimited numbers of universes is the spiritual sky, which is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says that beyond the material world is another nature, which is eternal. There is no history of its beginning and it has no end. Eternal refers to that which has no beginning, no end. The Vedic religion is therefore called eternal, sanātana, because no one can trace back when it began. So therefore, Vedic culture is called sanātana dharma, because it is eternal and it's a natural disposition of the jiva. Prabhupada continues, the Christian religion has a history, 2000 years, 2024, whatever. And the Mohammedan religion also has a history. Right? It has a time, 1400 years, 1420 something. But if we were to track back Vedic religion, he would not find its historical beginning. There was no founder, a person, a time, a date, a place. Therefore, it is called eternal religion. It's always existing. We may rightly say that God created this material world, and this indicates that God existed before creation. The very word created suggests that before creation, the cosmic manifestation, Lord, was existing. Because if you say that God created, that means he had to be there before the creation takes place. Therefore, God is not under creation. If God were under creation, how could he have created? He would have instead be one of the objects of this material creation. But God is not under creation. He is the creator and therefore he is eternal. There is a spiritual sky and there are innumerable spiritual planets and innumerable spiritual living entities. But those who are not fit to live in the spiritual world are sent to the material world. All of us who are not fit, did not qualify, right? So now in this life, we are trying to become qualified or re-qualify ourselves. Voluntarily, we have accepted this material body, but actually we are spirit souls who should not have accepted it. When and how we accepted it cannot be traced. No one can trace the history of when the conditioned soul first accepted the material body. There are 84 lakh or 8,400,000 forms of living entities, 900,000 of which are living within the water. So this comes from Padma Puran, Jalaja Nava Lakshani, the shloka starts. Right? 2 million species of life live among plants and vegetables. Unfortunately, this Vedic knowledge is not instructed by any university. So many varieties. But these are facts, Prabhupada says. Let the botanist and the anthropologist research into the Vedic conclusion. Darwin's theory of evolution of organic matter is, of course, very prominent in the institutions of learning. But the Bhagavata Purana and other authoritative scriptures of scientific magnitude describe how the living entities in different forms of body evolve one after another. So Darwin talks about the evolving of the material body, that one shape turns into another shape. Vedic knowledge talks about the evolution of the soul. The soul moves from one body to another body, right? From a lower life form to a higher, to a higher, to a higher, till it reaches the human life form, where it has a chance to think, act, understand, get out of this world. But if he does not utilize it, again, he gets recycled into the 84 lakh species or 8,400,000 species. So Prabhupada says it's not a new idea. Darwin's theory of evolution is not a new idea. Little mistake thinking the matter is evolving. But educators are giving stress only to Darwin's theory. Although in Vedic literature, we have immense information of the living conditions in this material world. So we have the understanding of different life forms and how the soul is evolving among these. We are only a fractional portion of all the living entities in the many universes of the material world. So if you just talk about the 1/4 of creation, just the material world, even that we are just a fraction of all the jivas within the material world. Those who are in the material world and material body are condemned. For example, the population in prison is condemned by the government, but their number is only a fraction of the whole population. It is not that the whole population goes to prison. Some who are disobedient are confined in prison. So those in this material world, all of us who are in the material world, it is like our prison term. Similarly, the conditioned souls within the material world are only a fraction of all the living entities in the creation of God. So sometimes people calculate what is the population of the earth. But that is just a fraction of the population of the material world, which is a fraction of the population of the spiritual world. And because they have disobeyed God, because they did not abide by the order of Kṛṣṇa, they have been put into the material world. If one is sensible and inquisitive, he should try to understand why I have been put into this conditional life. I do not wish to suffer. Suffering comes. I do not want to die. Death comes. I do not want to grow old. Old age comes. There are three kinds of suffering, including miseries pertaining to the body and mind. So this is the Trividata. Adhyatmika klesha, miseries due to body and mind. Adhibhaudika klesha, miseries due to other living entities like mosquitoes troubling us or something. Adhidaivika klesha, miseries due to the natural occurrences like landslides and heat and tsunamis. In Hawaii, in front of my house, a man was keeping some animals and birds for the purpose of taking them to be slaughtered. The Prabhupada saw this. I gave this example to my students. These animals are standing here. And if you tell them, oh, my dear animals, why are you standing here? Go away, go away. You are meant for the slaughterhouse. They cannot go. They have no intelligence. They will not go. Suffering without knowledge, without remedy is animal life. What a line. Like you say, I don't want to suffer, but everyone is suffering. Then you say, since everyone is suffering, let us continue suffering. But suffering without knowledge and without a solution, it's actually animal's life. Animal cannot do anything, conditioned. One who cannot understand that he is suffering and who thinks that he is very well off is in animal consciousness, not human consciousness. So nowadays people, just because of some wealth, some power, some position, they think that I'm better, I'm happy, I'm actually well off, I'm good to do. But that's not the truth. That's actually covering their realization how difficult and how cruel and how much suffering this life is, material world. The human being should be cognizant, should be, understanding, or should be realizing of the suffering of the threefold miseries in this planet. One should be able to see daily how either my stomach is giving me problem, my head is giving me problem, my body, my muscles, my bones, or how, if I don't do anything, I'm walking on the street, a dog comes and barks at me, police officer gives me a ticket, someone shouts in my face, people walk by and they splash water on me. Oh, Adi Daivika, it's too hot, it's too cold, and crop failure happens, this issue, that issues. So one should always see that practically at every point in our life, these miseries are there. One should know that he is suffering in birth, suffering in death, suffering in old age, and suffering in disease. One should be inquisitive as to how he may avoid this suffering. That is real research work. One should constantly realize this. We have suffered from the beginning of our birth. As a baby, the human being is tightly placed in the abdomen of the mother in an airtight bag for 9 months, like crouched up position, all kinds of, internal body fluids and whatnot floating around. And the baby is just crouched for 9 months. And what a very difficult position. He cannot even move. There are insects biting him. He cannot protest. After the child comes out, the suffering continues. The mother undoubtedly takes much care, but still the child cries because he is suffering. Right? Sometimes the child cries so much, mother thinks, is he hungry? Is his diaper wet? Is he just irritated? Or is something biting him? We don't know. So they have to check one by one everything and see when he stops crying. There are bugs biting him with the pains in the stomach. The child is crying. The mother does not know how to pacify him. His suffering begins in the womb of the mother. Then after his birth, as he grows up, there is more suffering. He does not want to go to school. He is forced to go to school. If we think about it, all of us, nobody was so eager. He does not want to study, but the teacher gives him tasks, study, forces him. If we analyze our life, we will find that it is full of suffering. Why then are we coming here? We think about it, so much endeavor, so much difficulty. The conditioned souls are not very bright. Prabhupada says we are stupid actually. Think about it. Krishna is giving us a beautiful, clean life, wonderful, beautiful life to be and serve him and be with him. But we say, no, let me try, let me go through the hard way. We should inquire, why am I suffering? If there is a remedy, we must take advantage of it. We are eternally connected to the Supreme Lord, but somehow or other, we are now in the material contamination. Therefore, we must take up the process by which we can go back to the spiritual world. That linking process is called yoga. The actual translation of the word yoga is plus. At the present moment, we are minus God or minus the Supreme. This is very interesting. We have read this line before. Okay. Let's see. Yoga, we have elevation. So let's see what we are looking at. Linking process is called yoga. Actual translation of the word yoga is plus. At the present moment, we are minus God. Like this word minus God. I remember this. So, we can see it here, just in the beginning. The linking process is called yoga. Another meaning of the word yoga is plus. At the present moment, we are minus God, minus the Supreme. Right. So this is all taken from a lecture, Bhagavad Gita lecture, Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, this second chapter of this book is a compilation, right? Compendium of different sections of Prabhupada's lectures on different topics, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, articles perhaps even, that pertain to the subject matter of Easy Journey to Other Planets. So beautiful, beautiful work. But when we make ourselves plus connected, then our human form of life is perfect. During our lifetime, we have to practice approaching the point of perfection, and at time of death, when we give up the material body, that perfection has to be realized. At the time of death, one must be prepared. Students, for instance, have to prepare 2 or 5 years in college, and the final test of their education is the examination. So life is preparation, death is examination. If they pass the examination, they get a degree. Similarly, in the subject of life, if we prepare for the examination at death and pass it, then we are transferred to the spiritual world. Everything is examined at the time of death. The Prabhupada continues, there is a very common Bengali proverb that says that whatever one does for the perfection will be tested at time of death. Bhajana karo, sadhana karo, mrityu janle hoy. Whatever bhajan we do, whatever sadhana we're doing, bhajana karo, sadhana karo, mrityu janle hoy. It will be understood, it will be known, it will be seen, it will be tested at time of death, whether it's a success or not. If someone has been chanting Kṛṣṇa very sincerely throughout the whole life, at time of death, he'll remember Kṛṣṇa. If someone has been thinking of something else, then at time of death, he'll think of that only. Bhagavad Gita describes what we should do at the point of our death when we are giving up the present body. The Dhyana Yogi, meditator, for the Dhyana Yogi, meditator, Kṛṣṇa speaks the following verses. Yat aksharam veda vido vedanti vishanti yat yatato vitaragaha yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena prabhakshe sarvadvarani samyamya manohirdi nirudhya cha buddhyadyatmana pranam astito yoga dharanam. Person learned in the Vedas who utter the Omkara and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. This is for the meditators, those who are following Dhyana Yoga. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy, brahmacharya. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses, fixing the mind in the heart of the life air, prana, to the top of the head. One establishes him in yoga. Right? 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 11 and 12. One raises the life air. In the yoga system, this process is called pratyahara, which means in technical language, just the opposite, prati aharam. Aharam, what goes in, pratyaharam, right? Opposite. Now the eyes are engaged in seeing worldly beauty. So one has to withdraw them from enjoying that beauty, concentrate on seeing the beauty inside. That is prati ahar, opposite feeding. Similarly, one has to hear the Omkara sound from within. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharam manusmaran yaf prayati tajandeham sayati paramam gatim. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body. This is how a yogi leaves the body. he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. So in this way, all the senses have to be stopped in their external activities, and the mind must be concentrated on Vishnu Murti, the form of the Lord. So in this world, we have this body and senses. We are further entangling or getting ourselves stuck in life and death, birth and after birth, because the senses are engaged in going out, spreading, enjoying something outside. Reality is we need to learn to bring it back inside, to relish, to understand, right? To enjoy in the spiritual. That is the perfection of yoga. The mind is very turbulent, so it has to be fixed upon the heart. When the mind is fixed within the heart, chitta, and the life air is transferred to the top of the head, one can attain the perfection of yoga. This is for the yogis, the dhyana yogis who do meditation. The perfect yogi then determines where he is to go. There are innumerable material planets, and beyond these planets, there is the spiritual world. Yogis have this information from Vedic scriptures. For example, before I came to the United States, I read descriptions of it from the books. Similarly, a description of the higher planets and the spiritual world can be found in the Vedic scriptures. The yogi knows everything. He can transfer himself to any planet he likes. He does not need the help of a spacecraft. So, the spiritualist, the yogi also needs to know where he is going. He's not like, let me do what I want and at the end I'll just see what I get. Not like that. He needs to actually focusly cultivate. Cultivation means you know what you're trying to get. Right? In experiments, we do cultivation of bacteria, cultivation of tissue culture. Cultivation means you know what you're aiming towards to, and you're putting all the factors and whatnot just to reach to that goal. Material scientists have been trying for many years, and they'll go on trying for 100 or 1,000 years more, but they will never reach any planet, Prabhupada says. Maybe by scientific process, 1-2 men will reach some planet, but that is not the general process. It's not that everyone can do it, right? Like we read in the first chapter, and I was sharing that how till today 12 American astronauts have said to be walking on the moon. Can the whole populace go? Is it so easy? Is it possible? No. The generally accepted process for transfer to other planets is the practice of the yoga system or the jnana system. The bhakti system, however, is not meant to transfer to any planet. Of course, if one wants, one can go, but it's considered foolish. Those who engage in devotional service of Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Lord, are not interested in any of the planets of this material world, because they know that no matter to which planet they elevate themselves, he will still find the 4 principles of material existence there nonetheless. Birth, death, old age, and disease. On some planets, the duration of life is much longer than on this earth, but death is there. Those who are Krishna conscious, however, transcend this material world life of birth and death, disease, and old age. Spiritual life means release from this botheration and misery. This material life is full of botheration and misery, so much troubling. Those who are intelligent, therefore, do not try to elevate themselves to any planet in this material world. So devotees are not interested to go and see Chandraloka, Suryaloka. Men are trying to reach the moon, and although it is very difficult to gain entrance to that planet, if we do gain entrance to the period of our lives will be enhanced. When you go to the moon planet, we'll just have a longer duration of life. Of course, this does not apply to life in this body. It's not that you can go within that body. If we were to enter the moon in this body, instant death would be certain, Prabhupada says, because we can't handle it. When one enters into the planetary system, he must have a suitable body for that planet. Every planet is inhabited by living entities with bodies suitable for that planet. Just like we are known as earthlings. We are living on planet Earth because we have an earthly body. For instance, we can enter the water in this body, but we cannot live there. We can enter water, but if the longer you stay, your skin and all starts crumpling, and actually they can become losing its luster color, and they get spoiled also. We may stay there 15 or 16 hours or maybe 24 hours, but that's all. Aquatic animals, however, have a particular body. They have a watery body suitable for living in the whole lives in water. They can survive. Similarly, if one takes a fish out of water and put it on the land, it will die because the body cannot live in this dry atmosphere. As we understand that even on this planet, there are different kinds of bodies for living but in particular places. Similarly, if we want to enter into another planet, we have to prepare ourselves to get a suitable body. You need that kind of. If you want to go to moon, you need a moon-like body. If you want to go to the sun, you need a sun-like body. If one transfers himself and his soul transmigrates to the moon by yogic process, he gets a long duration of life. On the higher planet, 6 of our months are equal to 1 day time. Thus, the beings live there for 10,000 years. That is a description in Vedic literature. So, undoubtedly, one can get a very long duration of life, but still there is death. And this is even worse, actually, because the longer we live, the more attached we become to things. The longer we live, the more high chances we become disturbed by Maya and so much difficulties. So it's more risky. After 10,000 or 20,000 years, or even after a million years, it does not matter. Prabhupada says death comes. So actually, we are not subjected to death. That is affirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.20. Na hanyate hanyamane shariri. We are spirit soul, and therefore we are eternal. Why then should we subject ourselves to death and birth? It is intelligent to think in this way. Those who are Krishna conscious are very intelligent because they are not interested in getting promotion to any planet where there is death, despite a long duration of life there. So devotees are considered intelligent because they are not looking at the short-term benefits. Oh, you get a long life. Wow. But long life for what? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Not interested. Rather, they want to get a body like gods. Ishvara, Parama Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigraha. God's body is Satchit Ananda, pure spirit. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda means full of pleasure. So getting a body like God doesn't mean we become God. No one can become God. But God is so kind that his spiritual body, he gives us also a spiritual form. As stated now, pamphlet Kṛṣṇa, the reservoir of pleasure. Small book, we have read this also in our reading. If we transfer ourselves to the spiritual world, to Krishna's planet, or to any other spiritual planet, then we will get a body similar to God's. Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. So those who try to be Krishna conscious have a different aim of life than those who are trying to promote themselves to better planets in this material world. They just want to go higher planets to enjoy. But the devotee realizes no point. Behind all this so-called enjoyment, there's only temporariness. Lord Krishna says, Murdni adhyatmana pranam astito yoga dharanam. The perfection of yoga is to transfer oneself to the spiritual world. The spirit soul is a minute particle within the body. We cannot see it. One practices the yoga system to raise the soul with the life air to the topmost part of the head, the Brahmarandra. This practice goes on while one is living, and the perfection is achieved when one places himself on top of the head and then breaks through. Then he can transfer himself to whatever higher planets he likes. This is the perfection of the yogi. If the yogi is inquisitive to see the moon, he has some desire to see what's happening in Chandraloka, he can say, let me see what the moon is like. Then I shall transfer myself to the higher planets. Just like travelers who go to Europe, California, Canada, other countries on the earth, they want to see what is things there, how are things there. They travel. One can transfer oneself to many planets by this yoga system. But anywhere he goes, he will find visa systems and custom systems. Prabhupada says, to go to other planets, one must be qualified. Right? Try to enter, they'll ask you, do you have a visa? Do you have a passport? Right? Customs will catch you. A Krishna conscious person is not interested in any temporary planet, even if it offers big, long duration of life. If the yogi at a time of death can pronounce Om, the concise form of transcendental vibration, at the same time, Ma Manusmaran, remembering Krishna, Vishnu will attain, he will attain all perfection. So, according to Bhagavad Gita, one upon leaving remembers the Supreme Lord, Om, the Supreme Lord's names, right? And fixing his mind on Lord, he can actually go back home, back to God. The purpose of the entire yoga system is to concentrate the mind on Vishnu. Impersonalists imagine that they see the form of Vishnu or the Lord. But those who are personalists, they do not imagine this. Right? Those who believe in Nirankar, right, the Lord has no form, they say that, we are just imagining this. You're not imagining. They actually see the form of the Lord. Either way, if one concentrates his mind through imagination, or if one actually sees, the ultimate thing is one has to concentrate mind on Krishna Vishnu. Mam means unto the Supreme Lord. Anyone who leaves this body and concentrates his mind on Vishnu enters into the spiritual kingdom after quitting his body. Krishna promises this. Tyaktva deham punarjanma mam naiti mameti swarjuni. Those who are actually yogis do not desire to enter any planet because they know that life is temporary on temporary planets. They are not interested in the short-term frills or benefits. And thus they are not interested. That is intelligence. Those who are satisfied with temporary things, temporary life, temporary facilities are not intelligent according to Bhagavad Gita. Antavatattu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedasam. They're called foolish, alpamedasam, a little less intelligent. Why? Antavatattu phalam tesham. They want fruits or benefits which are temporary. Antavat. One whose brain substance is very meager, right, is interested in temporary things. That is the version of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I am eternal, so why should I be interested in non-permanent? Who wants non-permanent? No one wants it. If you are living in an apartment and the landlord asks us to vacate, we are very sorry, we feel bad. But we are not sorry if we make a better apartment, right? As to get out. And they say, no problem, I have another house, right, larger than this. You're happy. This then is our inclination. We do not wish to die because we are eternal. The material atmosphere is robbing us of our reality. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada here is right. The material atmosphere is robbing us of our eternality, right? Because being in the material world, we are losing actually who we are. We are eternal, but it's making everything temporary. Srimad Bhagavatam says our duration of life is being diminished by the sun, beginning from the rising till the sun sets. The shloka which mentions this. Ayur harati vaipum sam. Daily we are losing the duration of our lives. As we are living every day, actually we are dying every moment. If the sun rises at 5:30 in the morning and at 5:30 in the evening, 12 hours have been taken away by the duration of our lives. As the day passes, we are passing. Time is passing by, we are passing away. We will never get this time back. If we ask scientists, I will give you $12 million, please give me back my 12 hours. He will reply, not possible. The scientists cannot do it. Therefore, the Bhagavatam says that from sunrise to sunset, the duration of our lives is being diminished. Time is called Kala, past, present, and future. What is now present, what now is going on, tomorrow, this will be the past. And what is now the future, tomorrow, it will be the present. Right? What we're thinking now, tomorrow I'll do, that's present. But this past, present, and future are the past, present, and future of the body. We do not belong to the category of the past, present, and future. We belong to the category of eternity. Therefore, one should be concerned with how to attain or how to be elevated to the platform of eternity. The developed consciousness of human beings should be utilized not in the animal propensities of eating, sleeping, mating, defending, but in searching out the valuable path which will help him to get that life of eternity. It is said that the sun is taking away the duration of life every minute, every hour, every day. But if we engage ourselves in the topics of Uttama Shloka Vartaya, the topics of the Lord, at that time it cannot be taken away. The time one devotes in the Krishna conscious temples cannot be taken away. It is an asset, a plus, not a minus. Beautiful line. The time that we spend with Krishna, serving Krishna, this is actually the real reality, and therefore it is a plus. The duration of life so far as the body is concerned may be taken. However, one tries to keep intact. And how much you try to hold on to the body, it doesn't work. No one can do it. But the spiritual education we receive in Krishna conscious cannot be taken away by the sun. It becomes a solid asset. Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is a very easy thing to do, Prabhupada is saying. Time spent chanting cannot be taken away like the time pertaining to the body. So when we do our bodily activities, it's passing time, but actually time is surpassing us. But when we do chanting, it is actually the real utilization of time invested in developing the spiritual body. 50 years ago, I was a young man, Prabhupada says, but at that time, that time has been taken and cannot be returned. The spiritual knowledge I have received from my spiritual master, however, cannot be taken away, but it will go with me, right? So Prabhupada says, when I was a younger man, now I cannot do the same things, but the knowledge I have gained, that is an eternal knowledge that will always be with me lifelong. Even when I quit this body, it will go with me, the knowledge, and it is perfect in this life, and it will make me, and it will take me to the transcendental abode. Both the material and spiritual world belong to Krishna. We are not proprietors of anything. It is all propriety of the Supreme Lord. Just as everything in the state belongs to the government, either in the prison house or outside of the prison house. Conditioned life is just like life in the prison house in this material world. A prisoner cannot freely change from one cell to another, isn't it? You think I'll change from one planet to another, one country to another. In free life, one can go from one home to another home. You can walk around. But in prison life, one cannot do that, but must stay in a cell. All these planets are like cells. We are trying to go to the moon, but it's not practical by mechanical means. Whether we are American, Indian, Chinese, Russian, we all have been given this planet to live on. We cannot leave. Although there are millions and billions of planets, and although we have machines by which we can, like spaceships and all, because we are conditioned by the laws of nature, God's laws, you cannot leave. A man who is put into a certain cell cannot change at the will, without the will of the superior authority, right? If the boss or the head of the warden comes and he says, you change your cell, then you can. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that one should not try to change from one cell to another. No point in running around this material world, one planet, another planet, heavens, hell. That will not make one happy. If a prisoner thinks, I am in this cell, let me request the warden in charge to change my cell, I'll be happy. It's a mistaken idea. One cannot be happy so long as he is in this prison world. We are trying to be happy with changing the cells from capitalism to communism. Right? So many countries, they change their management, they change their political parties, they change their kings, they put in a Democrat, they take out a Democrat, they put in a Republican, and so on and so forth. The aim should be to become free from this isms and that isms. One has to change completely from this ism of materialism, then he can become happy. That is the program of Krishna consciousness. We are taking advice from the Supreme Person. He says, my dear Arjuna, you may be elevated to the highest planetary system, which is called Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, and is desirable because life there is very long. We cannot calculate even half a day there. So long. It is beyond our mathematical calculations, but even in Brahmaloka, there is death. Therefore, Krishna says, do not waste your time trying to elevate yourself or transfer yourself from this planet to that planet. So Prabhupada says, thus I have seen in America are very restless. The people I've seen in America are very restless people, right? Want to move here, move there, do this, do that. They go from one apartment to another apartment, from one country to another country. That restlessness is there because we are searching after our real home. To go from this place to that place will not give eternal life. Eternal life is with Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says, everything belongs to me, and I have the super excellence abode, which is called Goloka Vrindavan. If one wants to go there, he must simply become Krishna conscious and try to understand how Krishna appears and disappears. Janma karma cha me devyam. How to live. Simply try to understand these ideas scientifically. Everything in Krishna conscious is scientific. It is not bogus, whimsical, sentimental, fanatical, or imaginary. It is truth, fact, reality. One must understand Krishna in truth. We have to give up this body willingly or unwillingly. The day will come when we'll have to submit to the laws of nature and give up this body. That's true for all of us. Even President Kennedy in his procession had to submit to the laws of nature and change his body for another body. He could not say, oh, I am the president, I am Mr. Kennedy, I cannot do that. He was forced to. That is the way the nature works. The purpose of our developed human consciousness is to understand how nature works, right? The goal of human intelligence and mind is to understand how nature is working. Aside from human consciousness, there is a consciousness in dogs, cats, worms, trees, birds, beasts, and all other species, isn't it? I'm sure you all who have pets, you'll see animals are pretty smart. But we are not meant to live in those circumstances. We're not meant to be like that, like animals. The Srimad Bhagavatam says that after many, many births, we have attained the human form of body. Now we should not misuse it. Please utilize this form, this human life, to develop Krishna consciousness and be happy. So like that, we complete the second chapter of this book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. So thank you all so much for joining us. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.